Africa Western Cape Division today. The merits of the application concerns a single issue. It questions, is it unconstitutional to prohibit eligible South Africans to stand for elections to the National Assembly and Provincial Legislatures independently of political parties? Big questions. Our reporter Abongile Dumako is there for us and he joins us now live. Hey Abongile, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Just give us, firstly, set the scene for us. Give us the background to this case.
Certainly. Good morning, Blaine Herman. Of course, this Concord is to make a decision as to whether or not, number one, this application by these independent candidates and, of course, these civil organizations, including women who represent the Khoi and Sen community, that, of course, is going to be, heard on an urgent basis that the Constitution needs to look at whether or not independent candidates should sort of stand on their own and not be aligned to any political party for the National Assembly and, of course, the Provincial Legislatures. Now, the IEC, President Cyril Ramaphosa and the Speaker of the National Assembly, Baleka Mbete, are actually opposing this, saying that, in a nutshell, it doesn't have to be heard on an urgent basis by the Concord. They want to allow the elections to go on, and then after that it could sort of be attended to, but not now. And they are claiming that it's not as urgent because now we are busy working towards the 8th of May, which will be where South Africans take to the polls. But we are going to get a sense of whether or not this Concord will heed to that call, saying that it won't, or maybe say that it won't, heed to this call and saying that this is urgent or is not urgent. But it would seem that the constitutionality of this case, it comes to the fore, as you have already said on your intro, that at the Cape High Court in September last year, it was dismissed, saying that it's not an urgent application, but one can't help but wonder if at all we would see in the future, independent candidates taking to Parliament and provincial legislatures having been, elected directly by the voters.
Let's talk about ramifications and implications here. Look into your crystal ball for us, Abongile. If the Electoral Act is declared unconstitutional, what's the implications here? And would it affect the upcoming elections?
With regards to the fact that, even the applicants have actually said that they admit or accept the fact that from now, between now and the 8th of May, there is no way that a decision would have been drawn as to whether or not they will be allowed or stand a chance, to compete or maybe go for, being elected, because of the fact that logistically the IEC has already done all what is needed to be done, including the votings that have been taking place across the world. So it's a little too late. They actually adhere to that and they accept. But what one foresees is maybe there would be an electoral act that is being reintroduced that will see, independent candidates going on their own, without having been linked or aligned to any political party, as is the case for local government. We know that people can stand on their own and they actually can be voted into, local councils where they represent those who would have appointed them or elected them to that portfolio or that council. Now, with the national and provincial elections, it's really a matter of waiting and see, depending on whether or not the court would say it's urgent, they will hear it and then they will give a go-ahead, or it's not urgent, it must be sent back maybe to the Supreme Court of Appeals in Bloemfontein, and then it eventually makes its way here. Or maybe the Cape High Court was right in saying that this just needs to be put aside because it lacked urgency.
It all, I guess, boils down to Section 19 of the Constitution, which talks to political rights, doesn't it? And it says in part, I just have it in front of me, I'll just read it to you. Every adult citizen has a right to, and it says B, to stand for public office and, if elected, to hold office. So this is at the crux of the matter, isn't it?
Exactly, and especially looking at this critical time where South Africans are taking to the polls, looking at the fact that one is allowed to take public office if elected, of course, by the public. So now it kind of gives leeway for a more debate to take place in as far as this is concerned. Are we allowed? If Abongile Dumako, for argument's sake, feels he could represent a majority of South Africans in Parliament but doesn't want to be aligned with any political party, will I be allowed to do such? Will it be, constitutionally? If the Constitution again contradicts this, and then I'm sure the judges here would have to come to a conclusion as to whether or not it needs to be relooked. Maybe we have a new policy or a new act that comes to the fore that will actually guide the IEC on how to conduct the national and provincial elections. Maybe that will see people being able to stand on their own and actually compete and actually, stand to be voted to Parliament and the provincial legislature. So we really it's a matter of really waiting and see whether or not this Concord will say, okay, let's hear it, it's urgent, okay, let's hold a bit, it's not as urgent, go back to the CSA in Bloom, and then we take it from there.
Yeah, because reportedly one of the gripes is that members of parliament are not directly answerable to citizens, but rather the political parties that they belong to, isn't it?
That's true. So imagine now if I go to Parliament as an independent, then who am I going to account to if I don't have a political party? Again, those are the dynamics that I think this Concord will have to look at because it's already legislated and it's already ongoing. It's already something that is already, happening in the country. So will we have to change that? Will we have to, see if at all it would be eligible for one to just stand on their own and then be able to account, say now, to the public directly as opposed to accounting to the political party, as is the case now, because we know all the members of parliament are deployed accordingly by their respective parties. Here now is a person who are standing on their own and they've won the elections. What's going to happen with those and things like those? Really, really interesting to hear what the judges will have to say in as far as this matter is concerned. Again, let me reiterate the fact that President Cyril Ramaphosa, National Speaker of the National Assembly, Balegambet, and of course the IEC, they are saying that this is not urgent. It could be put aside, allow the country to go to the polls, and then we can attend to it afterwards.
Interesting dynamics, and no doubt you are the right man to break it all down for us. Abongile Dumako, thank you very much indeed, as always, for your reporting.